place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I'm your host, Asher, and our guest today is Kerry. And today you're here because we get to talk about fear, our relationship with fear, how we have seen that playing out in our own life, and we can tell stories around it, and other people can kind of relate and see how they can look at their own fear and see how they can draw some kind of empowerment from your own story, Kerry, as far as how you battle and win. You could win against fear. So if you don't mind
Absolutely.
telling us where you're hailing from, what you specialize in, how you adding value to the world, and who you being a hero. So
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to be here. Again, my name is Kerry MacAdam. I'm a certified and registered health coach, and I'm a certified life coach. And I specialize in helping women lose the perimenopausal weight they've gained because it's more than just a couple of pounds that they're lugging
mm,
around. They have the negative self-talk and all that mental and emotional baggage that sometimes weighs more than the pounds do. So I help them with that. In terms of the life coaching part, I specialize in helping women regain their confidence. So I came into the coaching world about 3 years ago, a little bit late in life, but I see it more as me finally answering my calling in that sense. I had a career that was flourishing, you know, made a fantastic living. People were envious of my job, but I just wasn't fulfilled. It
mhm,
was just one of those things that, yeah, I was making good money, but it just wasn't what I felt called to do. It just didn't feel fulfilling to me. So I took the leap. I took the leap at 52 years old, believe it or not,
mm,
and went back to school, left my job, and just basically forged a whole new career for myself. So if that doesn't just give you a perfect example of pushing through fear right off the bat, that, it's been a journey. It's been very rewarding. And I just it's amazing because I get to serve a lot of clients all over the world because it's digital. So I'm not relegated to just my own area. I've got clients in the US, I've got clients in Canada, and I have clients in Europe. So that's the
mhm.
beauty of technology.
It is interesting. Well, thank you for being here, Kerry. And we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about this one topic, this theme of the day with our own fear. And I was curious. So you say you answer your call. I'm wondering, was that call like a cell phone call? Was it like one of those old payphone phone calls you got?
Pretty
Was
much,
it a
yeah.
knock on the door by the mailman? Like, how did
It
that call
was it
showed
was
up?
kind of a bat over the head almost call. It's just one of those things that when you learn to start listening to yourself, which is hard to do,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was just one of these things that I couldn't shake. I had a job, like I said, that was very good. It put me in touch with a lot of people coast to coast. I got to travel. It just wasn't what was in alignment with who I really was and who I wanted to be. Growing up, I was a nurturer by nature. I was always the caretaker. I was the people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
I honed that skill, people pleasing, to the point where I can teach a university course on it. I mean, I had that perfected. Um, but at the same time, I went through like, oh my God, almost 40 plus years living like that. But the thing is, I learned later in life that it affected my relationships, it affected my job, it affected my family, it affected every aspect of my life because I wasn't being true to who I was. Because as a people pleaser, I was afraid. I was afraid to hurt somebody's feelings. I was afraid to say something wrong. I was afraid of being rejected. I was afraid of not belonging. I was afraid of being looked at as an outsider somehow. If I want to dig back and then, sort of go through all those layers way back into childhood, I am not blaming my parents for anything. I don't do that. I don't subscribe to that. But I was adopted. And I think somewhere along the lines, even though my family never made me feel any different, somewhere along the lines, either somebody said something or I picked up somewhere that, in fact, I was different. And what was it about me that was different? So when you're adopted, not everybody has the same feelings, and I get that, and that's totally fine. In my case, there was that feeling of, was I rejected by my birth mother? Is that where this came from? It's entirely possible, but I don't want to necessarily dig back into that because I know I was a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
So going through my life, living by um, allowing fear actually to dictate a lot of my decisions. When I knew, for example, before I got married, my now ex-husband
Mm-hmm.
um, had, I just had these feelings that something's not right. Like he just his mannerisms, his behavior, how he was making me feel. I didn't listen to that because I was afraid. I don't want to. Who's gonna, we're already engaged. The wedding invitations are already out. What are people
Mhm.
going to say? What's my family going to think? My mom and dad are going to be disappointed. They're paying for all of this. So I went ahead with the wedding anyway. This is just
Mhm.
one example. And lo and behold, I come to discover years later that he had been having affairs.
Mhm.
So there's things, that was just an example of times in my life where I felt this is not the path I want to go down, but I'm going to go down it anyway because that's how I've been conditioned to feel. That's how I've lived most of my life, was by allowing fear to dictate my journey.
Mhm.
So it just didn't feel right, but I did it anyway. Later on, fast forward, the marriage is gone. Yes, because allegate, affairs were happening.
Mhm.
That whole part of my life just completely fell apart. As a result, I had lost some friends over it. They had sided with him. It
Mhm.
was a really hard place to be. But at the same time, sometimes we need that shakeup to say, okay, you know what? You know, you get your attention. The universe gets your attention when you need to have that sort of that wake up call. So after I got divorced, I've got two kids. They were both like sort of mid-teens. Um, my thing was I want to show them that I am strong. This is not going to get me down. I wanted to show them how strong I was. But at the same time, I feared that I was showing myself to be too strong. I wasn't allowing my real feelings to come through. And as a people pleaser, that is what you do. You guard all your feelings, you guard your thoughts, you guard things because you don't want to be judged. You don't want to disappoint people. So I didn't want to disappoint my kids. I wanted to show them how strong I was. But at the same time, again, it was like, but it doesn't feel right. I feel like I need to cry in front of them. I feel like I need to vent in front of them. I feel like I need to do, to just be myself. Again, fast forward. They're well adjusted. Everything was like that part of it was fine. Fast forward now, and I'm in a new relationship. This was a couple of years ago, in a new
Mhm.
relationship, and I just get to that point in my life where it's like, okay, I can't do this anymore. It was starting to feel suffocating. I wanted to be who I wanted to be. I wanted to say what I wanted to say. I wanted to live the way I wanted to live. And I was with this new person who is now my husband, who
Mhm.
was just like this breath of fresh air to kind of like grab you by your shoulders and say, okay, then do it. Say what you want to say. Live the way you want to live. Be who you want to be. The people who are around you are going to love you for who you are. What are you afraid of? So it's a going back and trying to untangle that web that I had been living in for a number of years, extracting little piece by little piece and kind of knitting myself back together again. So I forged this new career. I quit, like I said, I quit my job. I forged a new career. I went back to school, um, doing something that I really felt was authentic to who I am. I'm still a caretaker. I'm still a nurturer. I'm still compassionate. I still want to help people,
Mhm.
all things that a people pleaser can be, but
Mhm.
this is, for good, for good, not evil. And it just made me feel like, okay, I found my place. I found my place. So, in terms of fear now in my life, I'm 56 years old. So, in terms of fear now, I just launched my business. I had launched it, and I think 2 months later, I put my name forward to be not just an exhibitor, but a presenter at our
Mhm.
one of our national women's show. The ticket sales are capped at 5,000 people. I just launched my business, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to put my name forward to speak.
Mhm.
I mean, I was beyond terrified. You have to be approved. You have to talk about, you have to share about what you're going to talk about. It has to be vetted. It has to be approved. There's all this criteria. And I thought, well, it would be great if they chose me because that would make me feel good. But it would be great if they didn't choose me because then I don't have to get up on stage in front of people. Um, as someone who grew up and lived most of my life basing my own value on what I perceived other people thought of me, that
Mhm.
was huge. That was huge. It's big to be putting yourself literally on stage, open for critique, open for criticism, open for judgment. Um, you know, I'm talking about health. What if they look at me and say, well, you don't look healthy enough to be a health coach? What if
Mhm.
I'm talking about confidence? Well, you don't look very confident. All these things playing in my mind, right? So sure enough, I was chosen, and I just about, did something, dirtied my pants. And now it's like, okay, all right, this is it. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to
The
do
universe
this.
picked you. What
The
you gonna do?
universe picked me, and it was like part of me was, like I said, part of me was absolutely thrilled. What an honor! What an opportunity to do this. And the other part is, holy cow, what did I just do? Like, I don't do this. This is not me. I am an extrovert. I love being around people. As shy as I could be growing up, put me in a room now with 1,000 people, I'll work the crowd. I don't mind. But
Mm,
that's because I can entertain them. I can make them feel happy. I can make them feel comfortable. You see, I'm giving myself to somebody else, but I was never really giving to me.
mm,
Now I'm giving to me. Now I'm up on stage. I am doing my thing. I get great reviews. I got a full house. It was like, I can't believe this just happened. But at the same time, and then I started thinking, why didn't I do this years ago? Like, what
mm,
is wrong with me? Why didn't I do this years? Why did I wait so long to listen to my gut?
mhm.
It was talking to me. I just didn't know how to listen to it. And this is what I coach women on now is learning how to be more intuitive with themselves and pushing themselves past those fears, because those fears will keep you stuck in that little small space for the rest of your life if you let it. And it's just that idea of being that bold and brave, and you're going to be with you for the rest of your life. So you got to be happy, right? You have to be happy with yourself. I wasted too many years being unhappy with myself and putting everybody else's needs ahead of mine. And a lot of that was due to the fear of judgment and the fear of losing people. I don't
Okay.
want to lose people, of course, but now it's more like, well, I got to be me. So if I say something that might sort of rub you the wrong way, I don't mean it in with any ill will, but that's okay. I've posted things that were sort of conversation starters on Facebook, and I had a stranger comment that they understood maybe where I was coming from, but somewhat disagreed with my point of view. And my knee jerk reaction was, oh no, somebody doesn't like me. What do I do now? I forget it. I'm just going to, I'll just delete the post. And it was all about using your voice, right? Like, I'm encouraging people to use their voice. You don't have to find a voice, you have one. You just have to learn not to care what other people think when you say it.
Okay.
You know,
So, so let's do a little bit of idea tennis here, a little bit between me and you, because I'm listening and I think your story is very powerful. And I'm curious as far as if you like you picked up some chips, right? So you picked up some chips from all these places you've been to, the situation you've been to. And if you had to cash in those chips and like, hey, these are my winning chips. I'm gonna cash them in. What would some of those chips be that you would share with other people?
the nuggets of wisdom that I've learned along the way, you mean?
Yeah, the things that you're picking up from those situations that you said at first it wasn't the most ideal situation, but you went on it, you connected with it, you did it, and now you've taken something from there that you can cash in now. What are some of those things?
Learn how to listen to your gut,
Mm,
because your head has questions, your heart has answers.
mm,
Okay. So when there, I, something that I've learned is to tune into that more. If you're sitting in a period of time where you don't know, you're doubting, you're unsure, you're indecisive, it's because that's not what the answer is supposed to be. If your
mm,
heart is telling you to do something and you feel right, you feel that peace, you feel that, yeah, this is what I need to do, then do it. Just learning to listen to what my gut was telling me and where it was steering me. That was something that I have picked up on, that I have continued to use and continue to coach other women in how to do that. I've also learned to value my voice.
mm,
And I know where it's coming from. It's not coming from a place of hatred or rhetoric or racism or anger, or it's not coming from that place at all. So taking that aside and recognizing that this is coming from a pure place in my heart. It's okay to say something if you feel it's important and can benefit whatever situation you're in. I've learned that because many years I wouldn't speak. I would just, roll with the punches because I didn't want to stand out.
What
There's
what what
so
what do your voice actually sound like? If somebody was like, okay, so what does your voice sound like, Carrie?
My voice is, first of all, I love humor. So I'm going to have to, life's way too short to be serious. So I often take a sort of a lighter approach to things. I always
Hmm.
kind of take things with a little more on the lighter side.
Hmm.
My voice is very similar to what I used to tell my boys when they were younger, that life is just too big to stay
Hmm.
where you are. Whether that means they want to travel, whether that means they want to try a new relationship, whether they want a career change, maybe they want to move to a new city, maybe they just want to discover who they are. That's
Hmm.
okay. You, like I said, you live with you for the rest of your life. You have to like who you are. You have to love who you are.
Hmm.
And my voice is that person beside you to say, you can do this. It's okay. Nobody's going to judge you. It's okay. You be you, and you will love you, and we will love you for who you are. And it doesn't matter what other people think. It really doesn't. And
Hmm.
you just, you just be you, and that's okay. Use your voice, and it's okay to feel the emotions that you feel. You don't have to be the strong, silent type. I don't know if that's such a good thing. I just want to be that encouraging person on somebody's shoulder. And that's actually what I do with my clients is that little person in the background, in the back of your mind. We all have that itty bitty shitty committee, that
Hmm.
little negative voice that sits in the back of your head and it says all the things that you're not. You're not enough of this. You're not enough of that. You'll never reach this. You can't reach that. You'll fail at this. Um, Learning how to sort of tune that out. That little voice wants to, you can listen to what it says, but you don't have to believe it. And as much as that little voice wants to be the boss of you, it doesn't have to be. Don't let it. And it's just standing in your own truth and standing in your own power and just living your life because this is the only life you're going to have. And I don't want them to look back and with the, I wish I did this and I wish I did that because I was starting to do that. I wish I did this and I wish I did that. And that's kind of a negative place to be. And I don't want to be there. And I don't want my clients to be there. I don't want people in my friends and family circle to be there.
There's a saying that says everybody wants to be lawyers and doctors, but
Yeah.
let you be you and let me be me. And
Yes.
all the time, that's what people need us to be them. But then the big challenge comes back to like, okay, if I don't know who I am, then how do I be myself? If I don't know who I am. Like,
Yeah.
how do you get people to recognize that what's them? Like, what part of them is them? How do you get
And
people to recognize
my
that?
answer to that would be just that sort of self-reflection in terms of
Mm,
thinking about what your core values are. What lights you up? What lights
mm,
you up? Where are you at your happiest? Where do you find yourself in that Zen mode when you get that when you're in the zone? Maybe it's gardening, maybe it's working out, maybe it's writing, maybe it's singing, maybe it's driving to new places, maybe it's learning. Who knows? Everybody's
mhm,
different. But just to when people are trying to, find who they are, I don't mean some long spiritual journey through
mm,
Tibet. I just mean, like there's just times when you can just listen to yourself and just kind of pay attention to what lights you up.
mm,
And I think there's so much outside pressure, especially nowadays, with the political climate, the just the societal pressure and all this kind of stuff. Just social media. There's a lot of pressure out there. There's a lot of bias. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of stereotypes and everything. And that really you get bogged down in the weeds with that if you let it.
mm,
So I would just my advice is, just it's kind of just cliche, but you just have to be you.
mm,
And it's okay that we're fluid. We evolve, we change. We're supposed to. We can't stay the same for the rest of our lives. We're supposed to learn and
mm,
evolve and change into, different versions of ourselves.
mm. I think one of the greatest partner in figuring out who you are is fear.
Hmm.
Because once you face it, it tells you a lot about yourself. and
Absolutely.
and you get to recognize, wow, oh my God, this thing I've been running from, I've been avoiding, it actually revealed something to me that I didn't know about myself.
And the very things that you avoid are usually
Hmm.
the things you need to face and you need to do. And those are usually, that is sort of your calling in that sense. I was avoiding putting myself on a platform, whereas
Hmm.
now I have a platform and I'm using it and I'm getting amazing feedback from it. So the things that you do avoid are usually, yeah, the things that will take you farther faster. It's just that you're too afraid to take that step.
So how is those feedback? How does that make you feel now that you get
Oh my
more?
God, it's amazing. I think selfishly, I get more out of my clients than they do. Not true. But it just, I mean, to watch somebody evolve and change, like I'm actually watching them change. We meet by Zoom. We don't meet in person. We meet by Zoom, but I can still see their expressions. I can hear the tone in their voice, their pitch, the way they're carrying themselves. And I can actually watch them change over the weeks that we work together, from starting where they feel like crap. They're feeling very they've got a lot of self-judgment. They got a lot of the negative talk. They're just in a bad place. Helping them find their purpose in life, things like that. I mean, we're talking some heavy stuff. We go back to their programming when they were younger, where their
Mm,
beliefs, why do they believe the way they do? It's why do they act the way they do? It all stems back. So to watch them start in a really kind of dreary and drab and, just sad state, and then to bring them through the other side and give them those tools and those strategies that they continue with and go on forward, and to see them change. They're smiling more, they're happy, they feel lighter. Women in my health coaching, they are losing weight, they're losing inches, their energy is increased. Like, it's a real physical thing that is displayed. And the feedback in terms of how I've helped them change their life. I mean, just that, to hear somebody tell you, my
mhm,
God, you have just changed my life. That is amazing. I mean, how do you not get a high off of that? I'm telling you, it's a contact high that it's cheap and it's free and it's such a fulfilling place to be. And I don't see that I can stop doing this anytime soon.
mm. At the deepest part of you right now, why is the work you specialize in, why is that so important to you right now in your life?
In terms of the health coaching, helping women with their weight loss in a sustainable and a holistic, healthy way. I'm not talking pills, drinks, supplements, prescriptions. It's all holistic. Um, because I've been on that road myself, I realize chances are slim you're going to go through perimenopause. Safe to
Hmm.
say. But it does a real number on women's bodies, psychologically, mentally, physically, emotionally. Uh, I mean, we go through a large transition that is natural, but there's nothing natural about it. Things are thrown at us in a way that we're like, what in the hell is this? Like, where did this come from? I was fine, and the things I'm doing before are not working now. And it really brings them down. And I've experienced it myself. It really does something to your mental health when you
Mm,
feel you've lost control, especially over your own body, and the things that you've been trying to do aren't working. And you might see other women having measures of success and you don't have that. And it just brings you down into a really negative space. So the women who I work with, when they come to me, they are in that real negative space. They're defeated, they're frustrated, they're angry. So to lead them through this transition, to lead them through the program that I offer, and hearing how much it has helped them in terms of feeling better in their clothes, losing the inches, being able to have sex with the lights on again, not being changing in the bathroom because they're too ashamed of how they look in front of their spouse,
mm,
not going out with friends, turning down job promotions because it meant having to buy a new wardrobe. They couldn't fit into the clothes that they had, or being put out on more visual, a promotion in the sense that they were going to now be traveling and making presentations. I had a client who turned that down, and it was a huge
wow.
salary increase, but she's like, I can't do this. That is the level of emotional and mental stress that these women feel. And it's so important to, you know, this is going to be perimenopause can last for 10 years. So this is not
Yeah.
like, oh, you'll get over this in a couple of months, sweetheart, and just get on with your life. No, 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 no. Like, your body has completely changed and it's not going back to the way it was.
Mm.
And us girls get all the luck. So it's just a matter of, helping them through that. And to me, that is such an important part of my work and why I do that, because I've experienced it firsthand. I know the feeling of basically feeling like crap and feeling like you're hopeless. There's nothing you can do about it. And in the terms of the life coaching aspects, again, in terms of the confidence, my God, I suffered with that for so many years. I had so many gifts, natural gifts. I could sing, I can write poetry, I can write. I've been a ghostwriter for some people. I have a lot of talents that I kept hidden for fear
Mm,
of judgment. And it just really affected my confidence. So when I work with these women, it's like, oh my God, no, no, no. Like, if you could learn from me in terms of what not to do, your life will just soar. When I help my clients see themselves differently, they see their own world differently. And it
Mm,
really opens up. And I'm getting goosebumps.
mm,
It's a wonderful place for me to be. It's a real blessing for me to be this. So to me, this is really important work. Um, and I think it's necessary. And like I said, I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon.
mm. Well, Kerry, thank you for your work, by the way, and thank you for sharing that. And it sounds like you're making a really impact based on the people that you've been engaging with. And
Thank you.
I mean, I
Thank
have some
you.
friends that they talk about this too a lot too about the menopause stuff, and I have no idea like what
You
it
have no
really like.
idea. And you
Yeah, I
know
have
what?
no
You can live there in your ignorant bliss with that big old
idea.
smile. Lucky you. But us, on the other hand,
Mm, yeah.
we've got some challenges that we need to face. So it's good to have people in your corner.
If you had to like organize or list out in sequence some of those big fears that they have, the folks that you work with that they have that upfront facing them that they just really, really scares them the most, and that you kind of like help them really look at it differently. What are some of those big ones?
In terms of the life coaching, because we're talking about confidence, we're talking about people stepping into who they really want to be, finding a life purpose. I've had clients where they have kept themselves so small, and not like stunting their growth. And I mean that by their careers, their relationships, just not living the way they want to live. And these women, some of them are in their 50s, and I'm not just saying that, half your life is over. I don't mean that, but the older you get, the harder it is to make those changes because you've been living in that comfy little zone for how long? So sorry, I'm just blanked out on your question.
Oh no, I'm
Menopause
sorry.
dog, you don't know
Yeah,
that.
man, the demicentenarian life. I don't know. It's it's a bit challenging. But yeah, I was curious about the big fears. Like if I'm
Oh,
a person
yes.
that's going into that phase of my life, what are those
Yes.
big fears?
People literally sitting there watching their life go by and them having no control over it anymore. They feel, some have expressed to me that they feel they're just sitting there watching their life go by and there's nothing they can do about it.
Mm,
And what a sad place, what a scary place to be, to live in that fear that this is as far as you're going to go. This is as good
mm.
as it's going to get.
And that's what it
It's
feels like.
some of them, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Mm,
I mean, my clients, when they get to that place, a couple sessions in, the walls start to come down, the guard starts to come down, the veil starts to come down a little bit. We start peeling back some layers like an onion. You're just kind of slowly diving a little deeper. And when you get down to the beliefs, that
mm,
programming that you had that started when you were a little kid that you didn't even know, but these little things were being ingrained in there. When you start digging down into those, in the sense that they never felt good enough. They never felt
mhm,
smart enough. They never felt capable. They would feel that, they didn't have the right to make a choice for their life, that depending
mm,
on what culture they came from. Um, we get into some really heavy stuff. And those are big fears to be, that is scary for these women to think this is all my life is going to be. It's this. I'm going to live the rest of my life like this, but I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live like this, but I don't know how to get out of it. What a sad place to be. It can be such a defeating state of mind.
mhm,
Uh, and it's just one thing that it's very hard to crawl out. A lot of them are in a depressed state,
mhm,
mental depression. Some of them are functionally depressed. They're able to sort of go through their day, but they are depressed. And depression is not something to mess with because it has major implications on your emotional and your mental health. I mean, it's a dark, dark place to go into. I've been there. I've experienced it. I know what they feel. I know how they don't even like to look at themselves in the mirror. Some of the women that I coach in my health practice, they don't even like to look at themselves in the mirror.
mm,
They will talk negatively, audibly to themselves. They will say, "Oh my God, you're so ugly. Who's going to love you anyway? Look at you. Why, how can you be so stupid? No wonder you didn't get that job." I mean,
mm.
my God, that it kills me when I hear them say that, but this is how they feel. and they're too afraid to do anything about it because the fear of making a mistake, getting
Mm.
it wrong, making the wrong decision, and their life gets worse. Just not knowing what to do, not knowing who to talk to, where to go. So
Mm.
these are big fears that keep them suppressed. They keep them sort of like stifled or stunted in their growth. And it's
Mm.
it's
I, I
sad.
I would like to stay here a little bit because I think for a man, I don't think we understand the feeling part of it, right?
Mm,
Oftentimes, what we're afraid of is the way things make us feel. We're afraid of feelings. So
right.
then, if we had to like really, extract the feeling that maybe from your personal experience, like what when you was going through your stuff, what are some of those feeling that the thing that you felt that we could put a label on that people can like, oh yeah, I felt that, I felt that. You're gonna expect to feel this, expect to feel that, and what do you know do about those feelings?
From personal experience in terms of what I've just gone through in my life, basically. Just in terms of even the divorce, right? To have your spouse of 21 years, come clean that he had been having multiple affairs, even though I mean, it's degrading.
Mm.
I felt very degraded. I felt embarrassed, humiliated. When the marriage came apart, it was not in a good way. He literally went out for a quart of milk and never came back. Like he
Mm.
literally just walked out the door and never came back and told me my marriage was over the phone. So
Mm.
the coldness, the lack of respect, the indignity, then it was confusion, terrified, fearful. I didn't have anybody in my family who was divorced. I didn't have any of my friends who were divorced. I
Mm.
didn't know what to do. Where do I go with this? How do I feel? How am I supposed to feel? Um, I chose the high road and I stayed there from day one as narrow and slippery as it is. I just stayed there. And looking back, sometimes I should have come off that high road a little bit, sort of deviated off the path a bit, because again, I was keeping myself too guarded. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so I just didn't say anything. But those feelings of being, defeated and confused and terrified and just totally lost, it's an awful feeling. Going into a depression after that
Mm.
was the feelings of I hated myself. I would take the idea of, well, no wonder he cheated on me because look at me.
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. Maybe I didn't make enough money. Maybe you go into this spiral
Mhm.
of negativity and moving forward out of that, there was massive fear. What if this happens again? What if
Mm.
I'm not a good judge of character? What if I don't have my act together and I think I do? What if I make a mistake? What will my boys think? What are my family going to think? How am I going to do this? I don't, who do I talk to? Like it's such a spectrum to go from times when I would feel so down and terrified to make a step in case
Mm.
it's the wrong one. And then on the other part of that, try to tell myself, maybe this is a new life. Maybe this is the new chapter. Maybe now you can be who you wanted to be. But I still didn't have that courage. I sort of had it in my head. I just didn't have it in my heart yet to actually take that step and do something about it. And the part of the reason why I became a health and life coach is I became the person that I needed at some point in my life. I didn't have that. I wanted somebody to kind of be alongside me without judgment or bias. I don't want to dig back to my childhood and blame my parents. I don't want to do that. I want somebody to hear me and not make me feel stupid because I'm
Mm.
afraid of these things. Maybe, my fears are founded, maybe they're not founded, but I didn't want the judgment. I just wanted somebody to hear me, somebody to respect me, somebody to walk alongside me and not necessarily tell me what to do, but guide me in the path that they discern based on how I'm telling them I feel,
Mhm.
sort of guiding me onto that path forward. And I didn't have that. So when I had this feeling later on in life that, what, my job is great and all, but I need to change because it's not fulfilling. Um, when I became this health and life coach, again, it was because I became the person that I needed. And I know there are other women out there who need this. And it's just that nice little sweet spot to help them along the way, give them the tools and the strategies that I so wish I had back in
Mm,
the day that I didn't have. But you know what? That's okay because everything I went through got me to where I am. And the things that I've experienced, I can now share with somebody else only in the terms of it helping them somehow, it's giving them some kind of encouragement that, you know what, if I can do this at 52 years old, sweetheart, you can do this. Trust me, you can do this. I had a whole life change. Um, and just that encouragement and that support is paramount to anybody in life, no matter whether it's from your family or your friends. We all need support and encouragement. So
mm. I can now see why people would definitely need a guide. Oh my God. That was a lot of stuff. And I want to make sure I get the sequence right. So you're saying that you had the menopause transition, you had the divorce transition and the job transition like right around the same time?
no, the marriage broke down. Sorry, the marriage broke down 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My I changed my whole job and got remarried and everything. And that was just over about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the menopause thing has been happening off and on for the
Mm.
last probably 8 or 9 years. So
Okay.
that's just been hanging on. But it just sometimes, time goes fast, right? And sometimes it feels that just when you kind of get your footing, oh, okay, got this part of my life figured out now, or somewhat figured out, something else happens. And then you get that somewhat figured out, and then something else happens. But that's life. That's life. And we learn how to adapt. We learn how to adjust. And that's part of the fun of just kind of getting through life, right? Like I
Mm.
said, do I want to retire here in Canada? I don't know. Maybe I
Mm.
won't. Maybe I will. We'll see.
No, it's interesting. Now I'm looking at so you had like so say we say for the last decade, you had some serious transition in your life, and
Mhm.
it's like the it's like a massive school that you just went through for the last maybe decade plus, but within that time frame, like the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
and no, you've gotten a lot of tools now because some, if you got through it through all of those at the same time, I mean, behind intertwined with themselves, you
Yeah.
come out of that with some serious tools that you can kind of help other people with.
Oh, yes. Yes. Parts of my life has changed significantly because of it. I can see the relationship that I have with my parents. They're both still living. They're like 15 minutes away from me. They're 84 years old. God bless them. Um, but, I recognize now in my training, in my experience, and in my just own personal reflection and personal development and I can see where, you guys had me feeling guilty for a long time. Like there are things that I recognize now, and I don't begrudge them for that, because
Hmm.
everybody does, you'd like to think, everybody does the best with what they had in the moment. And,
Yes.
but I can see things very differently now. I can see why people, maybe, I'm not saying I know it all because I don't, but I can I can be a little more objective and a little bit my perception is different because I'm seeing things from a different lens as opposed to how I used to. So
Mm.
why do people behave the way they do? Why is this so important to them? How come why is their viewpoint like why are they so strong on this? Um, it just provides some different insight and it has affected my life tremendously,
Mm.
tremendously. I now like I said, I didn't have to find my voice. I had it. I just had to learn that it's okay if I use it. And the right people will still be in my life.
Mm.
The ones that really aren't meant to be there, this is sort of a way of kind of like weeding that out in a way. People are in your life for a season. Some of them are there for an absolute reason. I've always told my kids, even in the crappy stuff in life, you always learn you learn from everything. There's always something to learn. You glean wisdom from all the crappy things that you've gone through. Sometimes it's knowing what not to do. Sometimes it's you just have to look at it in everything in like a learning experience. And that to me has been probably one of the biggest takeaways for me is just this learning about myself, learning about um, why people do what they do, why we decide things the way we do. It's been something that I continue to do every day. Like I said, I don't profess to know it all, not by any stretch. I enjoy learning and taking courses and discovering and just talking to people. I love talking to people because I love to get to know them and just have that sort of connection that there were, I didn't have that in my life. And so I'm in some respects, I'm kind of living now like I probably should have or wish I did 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's
Mm,
never too late. It's never too late, but it's just an evolving education. And I just take everything that I've learned and I just, pass along as I can, as it's asked of me, and, keep the rest for myself and just keep growing from it.
mm. So yeah, you mentioned earlier that your parents, you didn't know much people that was divorced, but what about you? Did you talk to your mom about menopause when you was going through it? Did you have?
Well, the thing is, I am adopted, so I don't
Oh.
have that biological connection. I did. She's passed away now. So
Mm.
um I did, but you know, I'm close with my parents. I am. And I think part of my, somebody had said to me once, well, your parents made you feel guilty for all those years. If I wasn't, growing up in a fairly, firm Christian home. We didn't drink, we didn't smoke, I wasn't supposed to go out to bars or whatever, but I wanted to do all those things because my friends were doing all those things. And let me tell you, I did do all those things. But it's that feeling of like, oh my God, I'm going to let my parents down. What are they going to think? I go to church on Sunday, but I went to the bar last night. That was that feeling. But at the same time, I allowed myself to feel guilty and I recognize that. I don't blame them to a point. I allowed this to happen to me because I just didn't have my voice to say, it's okay if I can, I love God. I love Jesus.
Mm.
And Jesus saw me at the bar last night and he still loves me, like it's, but I didn't know how to do
If you
that.
wanted to stop, me, would have let me know.
That's right. Maybe he would have joined me. I don't know. But there's things that I recognize that, like I said, I don't want to go back and blame my parents for everything. And I made all kinds of mistakes with my kiddos. I'm not perfect. So I just take what I've learned and I'm just kind of moving forward with it. I have a great relationship with my mom and dad. We still have differing of opinions. They're 84. So,
Mhm.
there's a lot in society in the world now that they're just barely wrapping their heads around. Just even let alone the online banking, for goodness sake. My dad still wants to go to the bank with a little book, and get it all updated. And so things are just so different for them. And I'm being aware of that. I'm being sensitive to that, they're now pushed into a world that they weren't ready for, that they didn't ask for. Um, Texting instead of calling, right? When with their grandchildren, learning how to communicate and how to connect with people. So I'm taking a really sort of gingerly approach with that and just letting them be them.
Mhm.
But at the same time, finding my footing at this age to still say, I know, mom and dad, that you want me to still live 10 minutes away from you, but I kind of don't want to live here anymore. I kind of want to, maybe I want to buy a house in Spain and spend half the year there. I have friends who have a home in Florida. Maybe I want to vacation there in the winter. Um, so it's still navigating some of those feelings of responsibility, of guilt, of, that caretaking, if the answer is, well, who's going to do the work for us if you're not here? I have two siblings. They're all about an hour apart on each, in each direction. Well, maybe my sister's going to have to step up. Maybe my brother's going to have to step up. I'm learning at this age to say that. And it sounds silly at 56 years old. I'm just learning how to talk to my parents, but it's kind of true because I had spent so long in life being afraid to say anything. So when I do say something now, they're kind of shocked because it's like, wow, Kerry, you don't talk like that. You didn't know it wasn't your attitude, 10 years ago. But we just sort of learning how to navigate sort of a bit of a newer relationship. Still being tender with them because I realize they are older. They don't understand in the same ways that we do. But at the same time, it's that delicate balance of being firm with what you believe and what you want for yourself versus that typical parental respect. They are
Mm.
still my parents after all. So I still respect them and how they feel and how they live their life. So I try not to poke the bear, so to speak, but at the same time, I'm learning how to walk that delicate tightrope of I realize you want this for my life, but I want this for my life. and learning how to navigate that,
Mm,
which I think in part is why I'm being so open with my boys. If they wanted to move, I would miss them terribly, but move, go,
mm,
explore, enjoy. I've told them, I don't want you to just live your life. I want you to experience life
mhm.
because you don't know. Just because they're young doesn't mean their future is not going to be long and healthy. It's just none of us know. So,
Yeah, that is very powerful advice. Yeah, experience life. That is totally powerful. And I'm going through the phase of my life where I'm looking back at it, reflecting on it,
mhm, mhm,
increasing the value of it, making sure that I stop depreciating it. All of those things that happen when you look back at your life.
yeah.
We're gonna wrap up a bit here, Kerry. You have shared a lot today about your story, how you see the way you see the world, and how you've been helping people out. And a few more questions before we can close out a little bit. And I was thinking, I want to tap back into fear a bit. And if you had a picture of fear as your next door neighbor right now, what kind of relationship you think you have with fear?
I would have a healthy respect because I know it's there for a reason.
Mm,
I know your subconscious has we're all born with the innate needs of love, belonging, and acceptance and being safe.
mm,
And when one of those is threatened, that's when the fear pops up. I put my name forward to speak at an event. That little itty bitty shitty committee in my head is like, you don't want that. You don't want that. You're going to go up there. They're going to say, look at you. You look overweight. You're not a health coach. Who are you to say that, you've got your life all together? You're divorced. What do you mean? You know, but at the same time, I have a healthy respect in the sense that I know it's just trying to keep me safe. I know that it doesn't, that subconscious little voice of mine and yours
mm,
doesn't want you to be embarrassed. It doesn't want you to be laughed off the stage. It doesn't want you to be judged. It doesn't want you to feel unsafe. So of course it's going to say, don't do that. Because, if they say something, you're going to feel really bad. So don't do that. But now I've learned that healthy respect of thank you.
mm,
I know you have a good intention, but I got this. And whether I fail, whether I succeed, either way, I'm going to learn, right? That's already a win. Either way, I'm going to learn. I'm either going to learn what not to do or I'm going to learn, yeah, this was great. I'm going to do this again.
mm,
So the fear will always be there. It's with me every day. It's with me every day. I know that. And to a degree, that's okay because it's also keeping me on my toes. I'm not getting complacent. But at the same time,
mm,
there's that feeling of accomplishment, that feeling of pride when I push through that fear and I came out the other side and I'm still here.
mm,
And if I could do it then, I can do it again. I lost a marriage. I had to rebuild everything almost from scratch. And I did it. I left a 25-year career making six-figure salary and I reinvented my career and I did it.
mm,
Um, I got married on a beach in Key West when at 52 years old. I mean, I did it. I was nervous. I was scared. What will my friends think? We didn't invite anybody. Well, my family think we didn't invite any, but we did it, and I feel great. We had a big party afterwards at home. Like, so I understand that fear will always be there, and I think to a degree we kind of need it there. It's a little bit of that checks and balances. Um, but
It's
at
your
the same
accountability
time,
partner. Hmm.
yeah, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I get it. I get it. There's times when you really do need to listen to your fear. If you're walking in a sketchy neighborhood, well, okay, listen to your fear because that was a stupid idea. But there are times it's that discernment to know when the fear is, legit versus just you know, um, an emotional protectiveness of you that it doesn't want you to be embarrassed or ashamed or whatever the case may be. So if it lives next door, as long as they keep their yard clean and mind their own business, I'm fine. And invite me over for a barbecue once in a while. But otherwise, you know what? Fear is just part of life. That's all there is. And we just have to learn how to accept it, how to live with it, and how to move through it.
That was powerful, by the way. So thank you for sharing that. Mm. And if somebody heard you just now, like, Kerry, you are my guide. and I would love to work with you. How could they work with you?
They can reach me in a number of ways. I am on Instagram, Kerry.MacAdam. I have a website. It's kmaccoaching.com. So it's sort of my name short form. So it's kmaccoaching.com. I'm on Facebook and my own name, again, Kerry MacAdam. I offer a free support group for women who are experiencing menopause. And again, it's a free Facebook group. I can hook them up through that as well, through either one, as long as they get in touch with me.
Mm-hmm.
I can easily send them the link so they can join and get some support there. But LinkedIn, same thing. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, basically all of them under my name, except for my website, as I say, which is kmaccoaching.com.
Incredible. And what is your biggest takeaway from this conversation?
Well, here's the thing, Asher. I was a little nervous to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk. I mean, this is my second podcast ever.
Mm-hmm.
So did I know what to expect? Nope. Have we ever met before? Nope. Do I know how far this will go? Nope. But at the same time, it's like, but Carrie, you have to do this because I think
Yeah.
this is a really good opportunity. And I was afraid to do it. I fussed about my hair. I fussed about the lighting. And what about the bag? Does it look okay? Should I put this there? Is there wrinkles on my blouse? But here I am, and I had a wonderful chat with you. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you're an amazing host. You kept me comfortable, kept me talking. I probably talked too much, but oh well, you can edit it, right? So
Oh no, no, no.
this was
We just get to know who you are. Yeah, this is
good.
scary.
Good. Well, this
Uncut
is
and raw.
me. This is
Yeah.
me. I don't pretend to be somebody I'm not. And the clients that I work with, I present myself like that as well. Even in my master classes that I offer free master classes. Um, I say that. I don't pretend to be somebody I'm not because I can't, and I would be exhausted if I did. And
Yes.
who you see is who you get, right? And either we jive or we don't, and that's okay. That's cool. Everybody has their own person, right? You have your own people that you vibe with and that you don't, and that's okay. There's
Yeah.
enough room for all of us in this world. So, um, yeah, just got to be me.
I gotta tap into one thing you just said, and the wisdom in what you just said just now about it's exhausting to be somebody else but you. Like
Yep.
if you're trying to be somebody else, you're gonna burn out. You're gonna run out of steam because it's hard to be somebody else. But when you're being you, being yourself, it's a lot easier. And that's what
Listen,
people recognize that we can see the value in life.
I lived my life as phony as a $3 bill for so many years because again, going back to that people pleasing, right? You just take on another persona because you don't feel that you can be you. So the fear of that judgment and the fear of the rejection, that is deep seated and that will carry for on you for many, many years. So feeling as phony as a $3 bill is absolutely exhausting and it just depletes you physically and mentally. So I have learned to turf the funny money and I am just here I am and you either, this is who you see is who you get. And it feels so good. Feels
Hmm.
so good to shed that layer and I feel like I can breathe. Finally I can breathe.
And I would say that's one of the key ingredients for burnout is trying to operate being somebody else because it's really exhausting. But when you start just operating as you, then life is a lot more easier. It flows a lot more easier. Yeah.
100%. When you're just living authentically, then
Mhm.
it's easy. Life
Easy.
becomes a much more easier. You just breathe easier, you move easier because you're just being you.
Yeah. One last question. What is that one thing or two thing when people do it drive you crazy?
You mean in the professional world?
We can go both.
Okay. I would say what drives me crazy? I think it's now that I've lived that way, when when somebody is just phony baloney and they're just trying to sell themselves as somebody that they're not,
Mhm.
and feeling like they've got that over you, like they've got you fooled. Sometimes I would tell people, like, I can see through you like you're saran wrap because there's just sometimes you think you're fooling people and you're not. And I find that insulting. So that bugs me if people are just
Mhm.
trying to be somebody that they're not. And I can smell that from a mile away because that was me, right? I
Mhm.
admit that. Professionally, probably along the same lines. If I'm here to support you and I'm showing up I'm showing up for you. I need you to show up for you. I
Mm-hmm.
need you to show up for you and not come, with some other persona or some other, not just letting your guard down because you're just not being true to yourself. So professionally, yeah, if they're showing up and they're not really just allowing themselves to be a bit vulnerable, because you have to be vulnerable in order to grow, and um, that doesn't always sit well, but we work around it. We work around it.
Well, Peri, this was awesome, by the way. You
This
did good for
was
your second
awesome.
time.
Thank
Yes.
you. Yay. I'm so
Yes.
glad that I met up with you. This has been a really, really good experience for me. Thank you.
Yes, and definitely. Well, you've impressed the world, by the way. So
Oh,
keep
I've
impressing
impressed
the
the
world.
world. Awesome.
Yes, you have. You have. You've started a conversation with the world, and they're gonna have a conversation back with you. So we'll see what happens later on.
I
Once,
would love it. Yep.
yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
And with that, folks, you've tuned in Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. And today, Carrie has dropped some wisdom on you, so you got to think about it when it comes to fear. And she's an expert at helping people with confidence, and also women going through the menopause phase. Not men, but women, right?
That's right. I mean, you can try. I'd pay you. I would love to see that. But yeah, you won't pay me. I'll pay you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right, folks. With that, make it an awesome week.